Okay, we're now into Unit 3, Lesson 1. This unit really covers measurement, and that covers length, it covers volume, it covers time. We're also going to be doing some graphing too. So this unit kind of is a cover-all. I do want to warn you real quick. It is Royals World Series Game 7 tonight, and Mr. Wade is watching it right now while I'm finishing this up. So if you hear any shouting, it's probably something good happened. Hopefully something good happened. Anyways, so now onto the focus. We're doing customary units of length. So we're going to measure lengths in inches, half inches, and quarter inches with rulers. And I know that you guys have been doing rulers since first grade. For my class, there are rulers in the gray tub. You'll also find rulers back with all the manipulatives, so you can always grab those when we're working to use those. And then also our math book's really good about having things kind of measured out for you. So our vocabulary is inch, and you see in parentheses it says IN. That is actually the abbreviation for inches. So instead of writing out inch, you can actually write IN after. So when we're labeling, IN is perfect. Foot, the same thing. FT is the abbreviation for both foot and feet. So after, for your label, you can write that abbreviation. That's fine. A ruler, and then a line segment. And if you look on, well, you're probably on Blackboard, you will see that there's actually pictures from that I got that show you what each of these are. So also kind of just visually showing you what everything is. Let's keep going. Okay, so I want you to think, what if I told you to measure something? Right here is a desk. Okay, this is a desk. And I told you, measure it with a pencil. Think about something. Would that be a good idea or a bad idea? And talk to your partner right now. Pause the video. Pause. And talk to your partner. Okay, you back? Well, are pencils all the same length? I mean, we have some short stubby pencils. We have brand new pencils. We have some with full erasers. We have some with no erasers. So if you're measuring a desk and you have a really short pencil, it might take 10 of those short pencils to measure the desk. Whereas if you have a brand new, not even sharpened pencil with a brand new eraser, it might only take maybe 4. So there's a reason why we actually try to standardize measurement. And what standardize means was use the same. Another example here I could give you is, say that I tell you to use a paper clip to measure something. Well, what if one of you gets a small paper clip and the other gets a big paper clip? It's not going to be the same. Or what if I told one of you to measure by hand, by your hand size? Well, my hands are bigger than yours, so you know what? We wouldn't get the same measurements. And then what if Zane came and measured? His paws are much smaller than any of our hands, so his would be off. Or Mr. Wade, who has giant hands, his would be different than mine. So that's why we try to standardize it. So a lot of times we use rulers or yardsticks, and they go by inches or centimeters. And we have to be very careful with how we mark things and how we make sure that we tell people we're measuring things. So I want you to think, how could you measure a truck? Now, think of the word measure. Measure means so many different things, okay? So I want you to kind of think beyond just how big is it? What else could you do? I want you to pause it and talk with your partner about what are the different things you could do. So here are a few of the ideas that the book had for truck measurements. Well, you could do the length, the width, and the height. Okay, so how tall is it? How wide is it? How long is it? You could also talk about the distance the truck traveled. That's a measurement as well. And for that, we use something called an odometer. That tells us how far we traveled. So, like right now, my car says that I've put 83,000 miles on it. But I can also do it per trip. So, right now, since I put gas in my car the last time, which was Saturday, I have driven 122 miles. So, I could also talk about that measurement. Well, also, when you're talking about measurement, you can talk about the weight of the truck. So you'd have to put it on a scale. If you're ever driving on the highway, you sometimes will see those like weigh stations where they measure a truck to see how heavy the load is. You could also talk about the capacity of a milk tank. So, like, how many, like, or if you see a big tanker truck, like, how much can you put in it? So then you talk about gallons. But also, you can talk about the amount of time the truck has been on the road. So you could use a clock. How long does it take you to travel from Lawrence to Kansas City? Or how long does it take you to travel from Lawrence to California? I mean, there you could talk about time, but you could also talk about measurement, like how many miles do you drive? Okay? So those are a couple of things I want you to think about when we talk about measurement. Is measurement really talks about so many things, and we're going to cover a lot of them over this time in this unit, not necessarily just today. Okay, so here, let's look at some of the different measurements and the different ways that we can list measurement. So if we're talking about length, and that includes height, perimeter, distance, any of those. We can talk about inches, feet, yards, centimeters, meters, decimeters, miles, and kilometers. Okay? So that's like how far something is, or how long something is. So if you're talking about how big a piece of paper is, you might use inches. But if you're talking about how long is one of the walls in your room, you might use feet. You use, if you've ever heard of somebody said that they've ran a 5K, the K actually means kilometers. And so a kilometer is a little less than a mile. And that's actually how a lot of countries, not the US, but they use kilometers instead of miles to mark distance. Then you've got weight. So you've got ounces. Right now, pickle is so tiny that they measure it in ounces. Actually, pickle isn't even 1 ounce. It's a point something ounce. Then you measure in pounds. So by the time pickle's done, pickle will be in pounds. We measure you, me, in pounds. I'm not going to go into too much about that. Then we talk about tons. So a ton is 2,000 pounds, actually. 1 ton equals 2,000 pounds. So that's going to be something like a giant truck or a building, not a person. Okay, then you talk about grams, and that's a little smaller, or that's small. Grams would be, they measure, I'm trying to think what they measure in grams. Sometimes like medicines and I think food. I'd have to look that. Maybe that's one of the projects you can do for math. Just look at that. And then kilograms, which would be bigger than a gram. Okay, liquid volume. So liquid, obviously milk, water, soda, anything liquid. You talk about cups, pints, quarts, gallons, milliliters, liters, teaspoons, and tablespoons. So a cup, you might have a cup that you put milk in, but there's also a actual measurement that's a cup. Now, I always drink milk out of a cup that's actually 2 cups in liquid volume. So that's how much liquid I can put in. If you have a measuring cup, you'll see sometimes on there that it'll say 1 cup, 2 cups, 3 cups. And that's how you measure things, like if you're making brownies or something. Pints is another way. A lot of times when you, like, if you do any canning, You'll have like pint jars. So when we can our strawberry preserves or our cherry preserves, we put it in pint jars and give it away. Quarts. Whenever I think of quarts, I think of ice cream because when I worked at Silas Maddie's, we used to have quarts of ice cream, which is a little bigger. Gallons. The easiest one to think of is a gallon of milk. But I also put gallons of gas in my car. Milliliters is a very small amount. A liter, if you get a big pop, it's usually a 2 liter. So think of like half of that. A teaspoon is a very small measurement, and a tablespoon is actually 3 teaspoons. So usually that's like if you're using baking soda or baking powder, or also just it might ask for oil when you're doing, again, brownies. You can see what I'm thinking about right now. Okay, and then time. So we've got seconds, very quick, right? We've got minutes, which is 60 seconds. An hour, which is 60 minutes. And then days, weeks, months, years, decades, which is 10 years, or a century, which is 100 years. So there's lots of different ways to talk about measurement. So this is also, we talk about labeling, and sometimes in the last 2 years we haven't been as good. But I want you to understand what the importance of labeling, because there are so many different things. For instance, one time a US and a Russian space, like NASA and the Russian space program, were working on something. And they didn't talk about how they were measuring. And so the US measured it one way and the Russians measured it another. And they lost millions of dollars, and they were off by like so much because they hadn't done the same labels and they hadn't used the same measurement, and so it wasn't right. So that's why labeling, label. Okay. So like I said earlier, we're actually focusing on length in this one. So I know I went through a bunch of that, but that earlier, but that's what we're covering for this whole unit. So better now than never. So what you're going to do is, it says circle length units and fractions of units to show the length of the line segment. Okay, this is the line segment. Okay, so it has a stopping point and it has or a beginning point. Okay, so you'll notice all of these start at 0. Whenever you're measuring something, you always want to have it start at 0. Okay, so then you want to see where it ends. Well, as you can tell, this would be 1 inch, this would be 2 inches. Now, this has 4 marks, so this is 1/4 inch, 1/2 an inch, and 3/4. So here we look and we're at 3 and 1, 2. So that's going to be 3.5. Okay. And remember, I know it's inches, so I want to make sure that I do IN. Okay. The rest of this page is just like that. I'll do one more here. So I know I'm at 1, 2. And then I look here and it's 1, 2, 3 out of 4, because I'll count this one here because that would be a whole. So 3/4 inches. Okay. If the line had been here, it would be 1/4. And when it's here, you could actually put 2/4, but we simplify it into 1/2. Okay, because 2 can be divided, or 4 can be divided by 2. Okay, so that's why we call it a half and not 2/4. Okay, I want you to do the rest of this page. You can pause this, finish the page, or you can keep going, but you have to finish all of these pages, almost all of these pages. Next, you'll find this page, and this is the estimate and measure. So what estimate means is an educated guess. So if this is how long an inch is, think, okay, well, I think maybe that's 1 inch, maybe that's 2 inches, that's 3. I'm going to estimate it's 3.5. inches. And now I'm going to go and get my ruler and actually see how long it is. And I'm going to go to the nearest half an inch. So if you see, if it's actually a fourth, you go to, or if it's closer to the 3.5, you go 3.5. If it's closer to 3, you go 3. Okay? So you're going to do this. Now this one though says a fourth of an inch. So now that's going to be closer. So that's, so if this is 1 and this is 2, 1, 2, 3. So this is your half, or this is your fourth, half, 3/4, okay? So for this one, sorry, that one, you do like either whole or half. For this one, you're going to do fourths of an inch, which actually includes the 1/2, because like I said, that actually means 2/4. Okay. You're going to finish, well, you're going to do this, and then I also have the rest of this page, which is actually the bottom. Here, get your ruler and make a line that is 5 inches. So start at the 0 and then measure with your ruler and show me 5 inches. Do this for 4.5 and 4 3/4. Okay. Don't worry about 13. Okay. Got it. Finish these. Finish this. Finally, this is a line plot, and a line plot shows the frequency of data on a number line. What that means is how often do you hit something. So let's say that when we were doing our, we were measuring our feet, we could actually plot that, and we could say like, okay, we had, you know, somebody at 2, somebody at, or well, obviously with the foot, it was like somebody maybe at 6 inches, somebody at 7 inches. Oh, there's another person at 7. So we'd plot it on this line, wherever it would fall. So here they used fourth of an inches to collect. That's why you see 2, 2 1/4, 2 1/2, 2 3/4, 3. Okay. So, if we use the line plot to answer the questions, how many leaves have a length of 4.5 inches? Well, I look at 4.5 inches, and let's see, there are 3 dots. So my answer is 3. Okay? Finish this. The next activity, the next page on the back, actually would have you making your own line plot. Because we didn't do this as a whole class and you're doing it at your own pace, don't worry about that page. Don't do that page at all, okay? After this, I want you to complete your homework and remembering and then choose a writing prompt, okay? There is also the game for Mega Math, so you can play that. And there's, I don't think there's any videos for this one. But enjoy. Learn lots. Take your time, guys. There's so much to do. I don't expect you to necessarily finish today. I think it could take you maybe 2 days. Shouldn't take you much longer than that. So, just take your time. Check your answers. Make sure you're getting this because it's only going to get, like, we're going to build on this. This is only the first lesson. Okay. Good luck.